Hello, I'm Anthony David Hobbs, and this is my review of The Last Battle. It is the last story in the Narnia saga. It is also the last book written, yes, because they weren't written in the right order, but The Last Battle was the last book written, yeah, the last one published. And there is nothing penultimate about this one. This is definitely the last one. Everything comes full circle, all the loose ends are tied up, yeah, the story is an epic finale, yeah. But before I start the review properly, I'd like to talk about the Narnia Code, because I haven't mentioned it in any of my previous Narnia reviews. Well, this is my last chance, yeah. Anyway, basically the Narnia Code, because although Narnia is not in our world, it takes place in another world, but it's on very medieval terms, yeah. So the Narnia Code is loosely based on a medieval thing. Basically, before the telescope was invented, the only planets and the only heavenly bodies you could see could be seen with the naked eye. And each one is sort of symbolic, something to do with one of the 7 heavenly bodies you could see in medieval times, yeah. So, the Magician's Nephew, that's based on Venus, because Venus is really beautiful. The White Witch, although she's evil, is very beautiful, and Venus represents the giver of life, yes, and the magic apple that can heal you, yeah. So Venus is beauty and giver of life. Number 2, Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, is based on Jupiter, because Jupiter is the king of the gods and it represents royalty, yes, who has the right to be the royals that rule the country, yeah. The third one is Horse and His Boy, that's based on Mercury. Mercury is the name of the god of travelling, yes, being swift of foot. And effectively the whole story is travelling, always moving all the time, yes, getting to a place on time. The fourth one, Prince Caspian, is based on Mars. Mars is the god of war. And that seems appropriate because there's more battles in Prince Caspian than any other one. Yes, lots of fighting here, there and everywhere. The fifth one, Voyage of the Dawn Treader, is based on the sun. Because of course they keep going closer to the sun because the world is flat, so the sun gets brighter and brighter. They find a magic pool that turns things to gold. Gold is the colour of the sun, so yes, that's symbolic. The sixth one, the Silver Chair, is based on the moon. Because Luna is another word that means moon, and that's where we get the word lunatic from. The prince is going mad, yeah. And silver chair. Silver is the colour of the moon, yeah, so that's symbolism there. Finally, the last battle is based on Saturn. And Saturn is the planet of decay, everything coming to an end. Death, basically, yes. And Saturn is a Roman deity, and basically he's personified with a big sickle, and he reaps all the lives of people, takes life from everyone, yes, ends everybody's lives, yes. Yes, the theme of death comes up a lot in this story, yeah. So that's the Narnia Code. Now, I read this one, I think it was about the 4th one I read, because I didn't read them in the right order. Well, I was 8 years old, I was impatient, I wanted to know how it all ended. Silly, really, looking back, I should have read them in the right order. Anyway, the last battle, it starts off with the characters Shift, the ape, and Puzzle, the donkey. And the last battle, did I enjoy it? Well, yes, I did enjoy it. It's very different to the other Narnia books. It's the darkest, most sinister one. Yes, there's little or no laughter in this one. Yes, it's all very grim and eerie. Yes, oh God, everything's at its worst. Yeah, because you see, the word apocalypse has 2 meanings. It means literally the end of the world, and it means not the end of the physical world, but the end of our culture, the end of our civilization, all our customs, everything is going to be taken away from us, yeah. An invading force is going to destroy our culture, yeah. So the end of the world as we know it, yeah. But it doesn't hide this fact. In fact, even in the opening chapter it says, in the last days of Narnia. When we see King Tyrion, he's described by C.S. Lewis as the last of the kings of Narnia, the last king, yeah, this is it, this is all the last one. These are all the last of their kind, there's not going to be anything after this, yeah. So I assume we're going to see the world destroyed. It's no shock when that happens, yeah. Anyway, Shift the ape, yes, it did shock me when I was a child, the horrible things he did. Because you see, he's good friends with Puzzle, the donkey, and Puzzle's a bit stupid, that's why he's called Puzzle, because he gets confused, he's puzzled. But Shift takes advantage of him. Although they say they're friends, Puzzle is more like Shift's servant than his friend. He makes him do all the hard work and everything, and he says, I've got to do all the thinking, you've got to do all this hard work, yeah, and all that. He takes full advantage, and Shift is a bit of a cheeky chappy, a bit mischievous, does nasty things, but nothing too outrageous, nothing too evil. So it did genuinely shock me when he takes over Narnia and he's responsible for the deaths of thousands of innocent people. That did genuinely shock me. I had no idea he was capable of being that evil, yeah. But it's not a very cheery thought, but it shows that some people who seem a little bit cheeky, a little bit nasty, no. If you put them in the right position at the right time, they're capable of doing anything, no matter how despicable. There's no limit to how low this ape will sink, yeah. So that did shock me a lot, yeah. And symbolism again, the ape, even before Planet of the Apes, the ape was symbolic in that it's an imitation of a human, yes. Like devils imitate angels, so don't believe them. Although at first glance they look like your friend, they're imitating your friend. And in the same way the ape is imitating humans, yeah. There is even a part of the story where he lies and says that I'm a human, I'm not an ape. I'm just very old and haggard, yeah. And when he takes the king's sword away, instead of tying it to his side like you're supposed to, he ties it around his neck. He's got it wrong, yeah. So he's ignorant, he doesn't know, yeah. So you're not fooling anyone, even though you're trying to pretend you're human. No, we know what you really are, yeah. And perhaps, straight away in the first chapter, some symbolism. The story of the ass in the lion's skin, a donkey disguised as a lion. That's an old fable, because yes, C.S. Lewis borrows ideas from other stories. Anyway, the joke is, the ass in the lion's skin, a donkey is nothing like as scary as a lion, nothing like as dangerous. So if people find out that it was a donkey all along, they feel really foolish for being scared of a donkey, yeah. And here's visual aid, yes. Puzzle and Shift find a lion skin, and Shift cuts it into pieces, makes it the right size for Puzzle, and dresses him up. So there he is, a donkey disguised as a lion. And it does say that no one would be fooled into thinking that's a lion in the daylight, but they could be fooled at night time, yeah. So Shift says, if anyone sees you, they'd think you are Aslan, the great lion himself. And Puzzle says, no, I may be stupid, but I know that would be wrong. We mustn't do that. I mean, what would the real Aslan say if he found out? And Shift says, I expect he'd be very pleased, you know. We're going to make Narnia a just and good place, a happy place to live. But isn't it like that already? No, it isn't. We need lots of improvements to the country, yeah. So Shift assures Puzzle improvements are needed. And this is what happens. Shift, he makes Narnia, he wants to sell loads and loads of Narnian talking beasts as slaves to the Calormenes. Now, Calormen is the mirror opposite of Narnia. It's a horrible country of slaves and tyrants. And that they obey him because they think it's the will of Aslan. He's tricked them into thinking it's the will of Aslan, yeah. They object, yes, they're not happy about it at all, yeah. And an old bear says, we want to be free, you know, this can't be right, yeah. So why do they believe him? Well, because according to their religion, the punishment for lying about the will of Aslan is being sent to hell. So they think he must be telling the truth. There's no question about it. No one would dare tell a lie like that. Well, this just goes to show that religion is a mixed blessing, yes. Religion can make people behave themselves and do the right thing, but if an evil person can fool you into thinking this is the will of your God, he can make you do evil things for his own selfish ends, yes, yeah. And, well, I don't have a toy of Tash, but here's this guy, he's filling in for Tash, yes, the humanoid with the head of a vulture, yeah. And, anyway, the ape says that Tash and Aslan are one and the same. Now, here's the audio tape version here, yeah. And, well, basically, the King of Narnia, he believes that this slavery is the will of Aslan, but he does not believe that Tash and Aslan are one and the same. No, that's going too far. The ape is using his lies to an extreme that's going much too far, yeah. And in a fit of rage, he says, Ape, you lie! You lie damnably! You lie like a Calormene! You lie like an ape! Which, naturally enough, infuriates the ape, and he orders him to be tied to a tree. So, yeah. But that Tyrion realises that, no, he may be able to fool these other Narnian creatures, but he can't fool me. You know, Tash and Aslan are definitely not one and the same. Yeah. And then Tyrion, he calls for the help of the 7 friends of Narnia. Yes, the number 7 is quite symbolic in this. Yeah. And Eustace and Jill come to help him. Yeah, they're from the previous book. Yeah. And they find out the situation. They manage to free his friend, the unicorn Jewel, and they manage to rescue Puzzle. Puzzle, well, they don't really need to rescue him. He's willing to come out of his own free will. and they find out the whole thing was a lie all along. Aslan has not come to Narnia at all. It was a donkey dressed as a lion. And we have a picture here coming up, yeah, of the dwarfs, yeah. A load of dwarfs that are slaves or scheduled to be slaves. About 30 dwarfs being taken away by 4 Calamine soldiers there, yeah. And anyway, what they think is going to happen is this. They free the dwarfs, and then they assume the dwarfs will help them in their battle to fight the Calamines. But Tyrion, the king, he had never dreamed that one of the results of an ape setting up a false Aslan would be to stop people believing in the real one. And that's what happens. They go, wait a minute, so that Aslan was a false, fake Aslan all along. Well, that must mean Aslan never existed. Yeah, he was never real. Yeah, so we've had it with you all. We're not going to worship Aslan anymore because there's no point, because it doesn't exist. Instead, we renounce all other Narnian creatures. The dwarfs are for the dwarfs. So they're not going to help any other creatures, only help their own kind. That sounds familiar. That sounds like something Knickerbrick said. He says that it hasn't done me any good helping other people, so I'm only going to look after dwarfs from now on. Yes, there are references to the previous stories, yeah, because everything's being summed up. This is wrapping up the whole saga, yeah. And then King Tyrion thinks, well, we can get help from Rhumit the Centaur, yes. He can help us. He's going to get an army from Caer Paravel. But sadly he gets killed on the way, yes, he's got an arrow in his side. But before he dies, he says, noble death is a treasure that no one is too poor to buy. In other words, he's saying, if it's going to cost you your life to make Narnia free again, then so be it. Give it all you've got, yes, don't give up, yeah. And on their way, here's Tash, yes, the evil Calamine god, with 4 arms and the head of a vulture and talons instead of nails, yes. The mirror opposite of Aslan, this horrible symbol of decay, you know, rotting, yeah, horrible thing, yeah. And then what can they do, you know? And they think, well, we'll have to make a stand. We have to fight the Calamines once and forever, yeah. And here, real epic scene here, a real big battle, everyone fighting everyone, the Narnians against the Calamines, the talking beasts fight the Calamines. The dwarves, however, fight both the Narnians and the Calamines. They just want Narnia for themselves, yes. And the other sad thing is, when the false Aslan is no longer hidden in the stable, instead it's Tash, the evil god Tash, yeah. And the Calamines are systematically throwing people in the stable one at a time to be devoured, killed by Tash. And some of the Narnians don't object to this, because they think it's the will of Aslan, because they've been fooled into thinking Aslan and Tash are one and the same. So it's just confusion everywhere, yeah. And it seems like, yeah, everyone's being tested to their limit. Can the King of Narnia stand firm at Narnia's darkest hour? Yeah. And then there's a bit where we get to meet Tash himself because, well, the theme of death comes up a lot. Yes, everyone's going to die. They're all doomed to die, yeah. And Tyrion is fighting the Rishta Tarkan, the Calamine leader. And then he's about to be pushed into the stable. But before he does, he knows they're all doomed. He puts his sword on the ground, grabs Rishta Tarkan by the belt, and jumps backwards, pulling him in the stable with him. Yes! He's saying, if I'm doomed to die, you're coming with me. Yes. So it's not if you die, it's how you die that's important. Yes. Die fighting. Take a lot of the enemy with us. Yeah, yeah. So we get to meet Tash himself. Yes. Says, you have called me into Narnia, Rishta Tarkan. Here I am. What have you to say? And then he attacks Rishta Tarkan. Why does he attack Rishta Tarkan? Rishta Tarkan is on Tash's side. Why does he do that? Well, just Tash is just a naturally horrible person. I don't know. And then after that, we oh yes, the ape shift is devoured by Tash. Yes, he gets his comeuppance. Puzzle, however, is not punished. No, I mean it was wrong him imitating Aslan, but he didn't know any better. He was fooled, you know. He was stupid, and he did come through. Yes, Puzzle did leave the stable and help the good guys with their efforts to save Narnia. So yes, Puzzle comes through. He did the right thing. Yeah. And they go to, well, spoiler alert here, everybody dies. Yes, everyone, all the good guys, everyone, they all end up dead. Although, dead is a loose term. It depends how you define dead, really. Yeah. Well, the good guys with Aslan's power are going to the afterlife. Yeah, go to heaven, yeah. So he damns all the evil people and saves all the good souls. If he could do that all along, why didn't he just save them right from the start? Yeah, what was the point of the last Battle of Narnia if they were all just going to go to heaven, if Narnia was going to be destroyed anyway? Well, because Aslan is testing all their characters. He's testing you when things are at their worst. On the Day of Judgment, will you stand firm? Will you never give up hope, no matter how awful things get? Yeah. And here's a picture of the 7 friends of Narnia. All people, well, there's Tyrion there, and there, the 7 friends of Narnia. So people from our world, dressed in Narnian get-up, yeah. And yes, they're in heaven. What does heaven look like? Well, it looks just like Narnia. Basically, exactly the same. Only this is the new and improved Narnia, because there's no bad people here. Nothing bad can enter this new realm, yeah, magical place, yeah. And the Lord Diggory says, this is the real Narnia. It was always here. It always will be here. It's just the Narnia you were in before, that was just like a shadow or copy of the real Narnia. But it's not the real thing. This is the real potential of Narnia. The other place you were in before, that was a copy or a shadow of the real Narnia. And that's why the last chapter is called Farewell to Shadowlands, yes. And another bit of symbolism, Shadowlands, that's the name of a film all about C.S. Lewis, yeah. Anyway, and MF, who's a Calormene, he ends up in this heaven place, or what C.S. Lewis envisions heaven to be like. But he's a Calormene, he's not a Narnian. And when MF gets to meet Aslan, he says, well, I've worshipped Tash, I don't worship you. Why do I deserve to be here? And Aslan says, you worship Tash because you didn't know any better. You're not a bad man, you just didn't know any better. In other words, who would you rather be friends with? An evil, horrible, despicable man that has the same religion as you, or an honest, decent man that has a different religion? Well, the honest man. Yeah, yes, a man is defined by his actions, yeah. Which was quite a bold thing for C.S. Lewis to write, considering he was a devout Christian, but he's saying, no, you should be tolerant of other religions, yeah. And the 7 friends of Narnia do not include Susan from the previous stories. And I read the book, thought, why is this? Well, because she doesn't go to these Narnia meetings anymore on planet Earth where they talk about Narnia. And she just likes lipstick and wearing cool clothes, going clubbing, going partying and dating and behaving like a teenager, basically, yeah. And she's renounced all the stuff she did in her childhood, yeah. And we realise that that's a bad thing because, yes, when you're a teenager you think, all that stuff I did as a child, pointless waste of time. I'm growing up now, yes, and being materialistic and obsessed with good looks and all that sort of thing. Yes, but when you're not a teenager anymore, when you're fully grown up, you realise that no. Your childhood did have silly nonsense, yes, but also it had really deep and meaningful things, you know, like your sense of right and wrong and your desire to be a good person. Really deep, meaningful values of your childhood. So you must never forget your childhood completely because it does have deep and valuable things, yeah. You just don't realise it until you're fully grown up, yeah. And that's why, in the same way they said you mustn't forget about Narnia because it has deep, meaningful values, yeah. And, well, yes, they're all very happy in this new land of Narnia. And do the 7 friends of Narnia ever return to Earth? Well, no, because there's no point. They were in a railway accident, a train crash, and therefore they're officially dead on planet Earth. So there's no point going back, yeah. So it's sad they died, but good that they got a nice place in the afterlife. So they were happy at the end. So yes, the last battle, it sums everything up. It brings everything full circle, and we find out how it all ends up. They see all the best characters from the Narnia's history in Narnia. We see Reepicheep and Puddleglum, everyone, all your favourite characters together in one place. Well, because they're immortal now, yeah. So in other words, yes, things get at their worst. Narnia's destroyed, physically and emotionally. And then afterwards, everyone's happy in heaven. So things are at their worst. But the end of one thing, the start of something new, yeah. The last battle does an excellent job of wrapping up the whole saga. Okay, thank you for watching. I'm AD Hobbs, and I'm never bored.